Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of January 30th through February 5th of 2023. All right, so this week we have a bit of a quiet week in the early part, no major aspects, but we are approaching a full moon at the very end of the week on Sunday. So certainly a week of momentum building, still coming off of a bit of that first quarter moon from last weekend. So there could still be some actions, maybe some things to challenge ourselves the very early part, Monday, Tuesday. But as we do go through the week, we will likely notice more momentum, more wind in our sails as we do reach that heightened energy of the lunar month. Will be on Sunday's full moon there. So only a couple important aspects, and again, they're concentrated towards the end of the week. We do have on Friday the sun scoring up to erratic Uranus. This will be part of the full moon as well. So good to see how we can get outside of that comfort zone a little bit, mix things up, think outside the box, change, stretch a little bit, and get outside that comfort zone. And if we are willing to do that, then it is a great time to have new experiences, have a little bit of change in our life in general, and again, just have a bit of that, maybe even excitement with that square to Uranus. Now on Saturday, Venus, the planet of values and relationships, will be in a square with Mars, the planet of assertiveness and our needs. And so a bit of clash here between the feminine and masculine aspects of the self, and could be externally as well through those relationships. So good to be, of course, mindful with the energy. How can we integrate these, two very different energies, what we want to what our needs are and what our desires are, but also, practicing tactfulness, consideration, reciprocity, that kind of energy, especially if it deals in relationships. But integrating that, masculine, feminine energy within ourselves is a great way of working with that. And then the full moon is on Sunday, so we'll be right in between Cancer and Leo, leaning more towards Leo. So a good time to do a bit of a status check with what's important to us emotionally and also what's important to us for our self-expression. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, January 30th. And as you can see, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which you will not see in mainstream astrology, because unfortunately they do not use the visible sky. They use a season-based system, at least in the West. So if you are new to this channel, definitely check out the link down below for more information on using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so let's do a little bit of a recap in terms of where the fast movers are coming into this week. Fast movers do tend to place a theme on really the surrounding weeks and the months, as their transits tend to be about, for the Sun, Mercury, and Venus, about one sign a month. And so there's no sign changes with the fast movers this week, so a continuation of some of the shifts of energy that we had last week with Venus, and even the prior weeks with the Sun, and even the past couple months ago was Mercury. But we do have the Sun in Capricorn, which is great to be focused on what can be accomplished right now. It is the time of the year for focusing on things through the lens of achievement, or what can be accomplished, what requires a bit of discipline, perseverance, right? It's kind of more long-term grounded energy. And so with this, it's a great time of the year to focus on things that require this. It doesn't have to be just career or those types of accomplishments. Really anything that you do take seriously in life, you do want to put in some of that time, patience, and perseverance. Great to channel that using the Capricorn energy at the moment. Now, Mercury has been in his very long transit of Sagittarius because he did recently go retrograde. He is now certainly moving forward now, gaining his fast-moving speed. And so things involving those routines and day-to-day activities should be moving forward now, especially as now we do have all of the planets direct. Uranus just went direct last week, and so now we do have a lot of this forward movement here. So great to see how we can expand our horizons a little bit with Sagittarius. That retrograde over these past really couple months have showed us the importance of being open-minded, thinking big, expanding our mental horizons. And in this way, helps us get a bit of that higher perspective and maybe even jovialness or optimism or opportunity that we can be aware of when Mercury is in Sagittarius. Now, Venus is continuing her very recent transit of Aquarius. She transited into here last week. And so it's great to be still valuing and enjoying a bit of that visionary or progressive energy. So Aquarius is all about those future visions and really how we can be a part of things greater than ourselves. So it also rules community and friendships, network circles. And so with Venus being that planet of relationships, it's great to be really connecting with others in this way, connecting in what are those shared visions, maybe even contributing towards some future aspiration. Great time for connecting with friendships through online or community or just in general. And just connecting in the way of how we all can come together to share a vision or share something that we all have in commonality, a common value, and connect on that level, right? And so great time for all that kind of more social side, but even just on the more personal side, good to be enjoying perhaps a bit of the visionary energies for ourselves. And so anything involving the world, the future, or our own future aspirations, we could be enjoying and connecting with right now with Venus here. Okay, and of course Mars is still in his very long transit as well. This case, for almost 6 months now, Mars in Taurus. And so this has been good to take things slowly and steadily, to stop and smell the roses. And, when we are taking action, pursuing our needs, which is Mars, good to do so in that slow and steady and grounded way. During the retrograde, we likely reconnected a lot with those inner resources, inner self-worth, self-value, things of this nature. And so now it really is about implementing that, since Mars has gone direct here about a couple weeks ago. And he is now certainly building his momentum moving forward as well. All right, so that's the recap with those fast-moving planet placements. So as you can see here, the aspects are mostly concentrated towards the weekend. What you're seeing here is some of the aspects coming out from Sunday, and then a minor one involving Chiron around Wednesday. But let's go ahead and break it down one day at a time here. So starting first with Monday, we will have the moon in Taurus. And this is where we may have noticed a bit of a shift on Sunday. And so for really this first 3 days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, and the early part of Wednesday, is really good for that slow and steady Taurus energy. Good to connect to Earth, nature, the natural world. The moon is exalted here, likes to be here, and so it is a good time to have a bit of that connection to the natural world. Maybe even at home, as the moon can often represent these kinds of things. Having a bit of beauty, sensuality, connecting to the senses, the natural world, food, this kind of the comforts or the enjoyments or the abundances of life is always great to connect with when the moon's in Taurus. But this is fundamentally, again, about connecting to those inner resources with Taurus. And so great time of connecting to that self-reliance, self-worth, self-value, that inner groundedness, inner strength that then, of course, manifests externally into the natural world. But themes about cultivating inner and outer resources is likely the theme these first few days of the week here. And it is a bit of there is the action-oriented energy. So there's a little bit of the challenges that perhaps is still good to challenge ourselves with, since the weekend had the first quarter moon. And so we are still a bit in that first quarter moon, these first couple days at least, where it is good to challenge ourselves and integrate things and move things forward from the lunar cycle, which would have started a week prior to this Sunday, Monday time period. Now, with that being said, there are trines, though. There is supportive energy coming into this from Sunday. And one is that sort of Mars is in good harmony to the sun. So there could be some of that momentum for some of that assertiveness, or again, things moving forward. And Mercury trining Uranus, maybe still a little bit of thinking outside the box, bit of that higher perspective we're talking about with Mercury and Sagittarius, but definitely in an innovative or eccentric or outside the box sort of way. So anything that does require that sort of visionary, innovative, or unorthodox thinking, and even communication can be very supportive here on Monday, again coming off that Sunday time period. The moon in Taurus on Tuesday doesn't have any major aspects, and then as we start to get into Wednesday with the moon finishing Taurus, we do have a very, very minor aspect. The sun will be sextiling healing Chiron. Really nothing major with this one, but if there is anything that could be quite healing for you, especially if it involves self-expression of any kind, a great day to do that. So anything creative or expressive could be quite healing and therapeutic that day. It's really just an opening for that. It's available. We can choose or choose not to work with it, but it can be a good day for healing if there's any intentions on that, or again, anything we're doing that involves that self-expression. Now, as we do get to the later part of Wednesday, the moon will start to go into Gemini, where the moon will be all day Thursday and the first half of Friday. So this middle part of the week, good for learning, a bit of that Mercury kind of energy, being interested, gaining information, knowledge, learning, a little more cerebral, a little more communicative, right? Could be a great way of working with that middle part, and probably noticing some themes around that. No major aspects on the Thursday time period, but then as we start to get into Friday, we will start to notice what is part of that full moon energy. By this point, we should be feeling the heightened energy of the lunar month, getting ready for those shifts and changes that will be likely happening around Sunday's full moon. And the full moon will be squaring up to Uranus, where we have the sun forming its aspect on Friday. So sun square Uranus on Friday, and again throughout the whole weekend's full moon, good to challenge ourselves to get into some of that erratic Uranus energy, right? So to be willing to think outside the box, be willing to get outside of our normal way of doing things, right? Whatever we normally do, whatever our habits are, sort of set ways are, Uranus does tend to want to shake up and mix up. And so if we do set the intention to mix it up, then great, we're in alignment with the energy. So great to challenge ourselves, maybe even take some actions, as squares are oftentimes action-oriented. Take some actions towards things that would be maybe exciting but uncomfortable, maybe different, but also feeling like it's, stretching, right? And so anything that is that mixing things up, mixing up the routine and expressing ourselves in different ways could be a great way of working with that square. And again, it could be a very constructive, really weekend with this kind of square energy. Because as we start to get into Saturday, we will have the moon shifting into Cancer, gearing up for that full moon. But Venus will also be squaring up to Mars. And so with this one, particularly on Saturday and Sunday, again, a bit of that clash as just the default between the feminine Venus and the masculine Mars. And so this is fundamentally internally, and so it is good to integrate, or first be aware, mindful, conscious of that need to have both, receptivity of Venus and also assertiveness of Mars, right? So that balance, that integration between the feminine and masculine. So any intentions around this, connecting with both aspects of the self there, can be great. And then, of course, externalizing this in the sense of, again, being receptive, but also assertive in a conscious and constructive way really is a great way of working with this square. And so it can be, again, a lot of positive things, a lot of great actions to take in the sense of integrating things like our relationships, our values, in the context of also our needs. So balancing our needs, others' needs, our independent life, our relationship life, self and other, right? And any intentions around that can again be very, very constructive. So we've got that aspect going on Saturday and Sunday. But the full moon will be right in between Cancer and Leo, leaning more towards the Leo side of things slightly. And so this will be a good time to do a status check on both our emotional needs, which is Cancer, a good time to see, if there is anything that is in our life that we can connect more with our feelings about or with. Good time to be aware of matters of home or family or the past, what's important to us emotionally, and how we can cultivate a bit of that more emotional, or rather protective, nurturing, and caring energy that Cancer helps us develop. But I really think that's going to be on the more minor side of things, as the moon will be mostly in Leo. And so really a status check on self-expression, how to be aware of the emotional side of things, which is Cancer, but taking it the next step forward, which is self-expression. And I think doing a status check on all things about self-expression, what we love, cultivating a bit of that creative energy, playful energy, right, expressive energy of Leo is a great way of cultivating this. So we get some insights about it, make some shifts and changes. Again, the sun squaring Uranus is, with the full moon, is how can we express ourselves in different ways or get outside those comfort zones, right? And again, can be very constructive. So I will, of course, make the full moon video on this, so do stay tuned for that. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. I talked about a lot today, but it's actually very straightforward in terms of the aspects. We are approaching a full moon, so it is momentum building and wind in the sails as we do approach the Sunday time period. Most of the aspects are concentrated over the weekend. We do have a little bit of aspects coming from Sunday into Monday, with a little bit of support from the fiery and eccentric energies of Mars and Uranus. But as the momentum does build and we do get to that Friday time period, it'll be particularly important to, again, stretch with that self-expression, maybe have some of these, new and different experiences, or get into some of that different energy with Uranus, and integrating the feminine and masculine aspects of the self, the receptive and assertive within ourself. And then, of course, that manifesting externally can be very constructive as well. And then the full moon gives us the heightened energy of the lunar month, where we can do a status check, see how the past couple weeks have been going, particularly in the context of our emotional needs and heart needs or expressive needs, and then how to make shifts, cultivate some of that, implement some of that for at least the remainder of the lunar cycle, which is the next 2 weeks. All right, everyone, so have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube and extra content not normally released on YouTube. So do sign up down below if you haven't yet. But again, have a great one, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.